Breaking today, Meghan Markle breaks her agreement with King Charles and Buckingham Palace to leak to her friends at People magazine less than a week after that promised meeting with Charles and Queen Camilla. Meanwhile, Prince Harry has arrived back in the United States completely fine, proving the point that I have made, by the way, for months and years, that they can travel in and out of the UK with their children privately with absolutely no issues whatsoever. What is quite notable, though, is that Meghan Markle didn't attend the Time 100 event with Harry. Certainly, when the chips are down, she don't want to be seen with her Duke. Ms. Pepper is no longer interested in the salt shaker, if you understand what I mean. Torre Buckahay writing, Prince Harry, the bonehead who sinks millions into failed privacy actions and who says camera flashes terrify him, is now doing cheesy "have you got my best side, guys" camera turns at celebrity galas like he's Meghan Markle's sugar lump veneers. Hypocritical old ham. And indeed, he was loving this event so much overnight that he even praised the photographers who he usually claims to despise.
Love it. Life is good.
Outstanding.
You're perfect. There it is. Mr. Duke of Sussex on the
And one lady, there's one lady, it's me.
She's the best.
In case you missed that, just listen again from this different angle.
And Mr. Duke of Sussex on the end,
One
sir.
lady, there's one lady, it's me.
And your friend on the end, sir. The best. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, our affable Duke even pretended to be an England football fan.
She gonna take part?
Hello.
Are you sad about England losing?
Of course.
She gonna take part?
Hello.
Are you sad about England losing?
Of course.
She gonna take part?
Hello.
Are you sad about England losing?
Of course.
He doesn't care, by the way. He thinks England football fans like me are bonehead racists. But as you saw from that People magazine cover, they couldn't hold their silence. What they had told King Charles was a lie, because look at that. Harry's royal reunion at last. His family visit Charles as new drama unfolds inside Prince Harry's turbulent UK visit, from a public palace dispute to a crushing court loss to a long-awaited reunion with King Charles alongside Meghan, Archie and Lily. But why this matters, of course, is that we know that Prince Harry has in the past directly emailed People magazine. We know that People magazine effectively operates as like the house journal for the Sussexes. And we know that Meghan Markle wanted it to be known to the world that the choreography of this meeting was nothing to do with her. Let me bring in royal reporter extraordinaire, a long-time member of the Royal Rota and royal exclusive breaker, but also now independent on the Robert Jobson Substack. Jobbo, so great to have you here. Can we kick off with Prince Harry last night at this Time 100 event? So surely now, Jobbo, tell me if I'm wrong, but surely we now have proof that he can fly in and out of the UK, sight unseen, no paparazzi pictures, no security troubles whatsoever. So what's his issue?
Well, I think that'll probably be a big issue for them, because they do love a controversy, because it boosts their brand, it boosts their numbers. But the reality is, you summed it up brilliantly in that intro. But you know, this has been a fiasco. It's been a circus. But actually, has it really hit anybody? You know, I thought actually it was quite, after all the toing and froing, it was quite low key. That the bigger picture was on Wowsies and them at Wimbledon and William playing polo, and we didn't see her, and we saw a bit of him, but I mean, it wasn't major stuff. It's stuff we've seen before. Him doing the Invictus the preamble to the Invictus Games. I thought that this whole nonsense about the security was something they've just dreamed up from their own team. If you speak to people in the intelligence services, there is no threat against Harry, and that is why Ravak have not stepped up the security. If there was, the security level would be higher, and he would get an appropriate security as long as he gave them the notice that was required to actually do that review. The other thing is, look at what else would have happened really on this one, Dan, is if I think he nearly played the Palace, nearly got away with it, because in the week he knew when that case was coming back, he knew probably that what the result was going to be before anybody else. And the fact was, he is a prince, he calls himself a Prince of England and a stay-at-home dad, whatever he's supposed to be.
And the inventor of the Invictus Games, Jobbo, but no mention of Archewell.
He didn't. That isn't true, because he got that from America. I remember that it was the year before. It was called the Warrior Games.
Yeah, he stole the idea, basically.
He invented it. So, and that is a load of old nonsense. Although I'm not dissing the Invictus Games, because I actually think it's a good thing. But, we'll see how long it can go on for. Let's hope for a little bit longer. But, this is a guy that was finally agreed to stay at Buckingham Palace, and luckily the Palace pulled that away from him. But he was railing against the independent judiciary, calling it a whitewash, taking on the free press in a way that, frankly, is not really acceptable in a world that we're living in, when we're getting prime ministers coronated without even debate, and also attacking a High Court judge, and also suing the government. These are the three pillars, a free press, an independent judiciary, and a government that is elected. That his father, as the king, is there to secure. He stands to, he is there to serve those pillars of the community. Otherwise, there is no point of a monarchy. And what worries me, and it does worry me actually, is that if Harry had been coming out of Buckingham Palace, the headquarters of monarchy, that would have been a really bad optic.
Well, I would go further than that, Jobbo. Constitutional crisis. If he had made that statement from within the rooms of Buckingham Palace, which is what he intended to do.
Over the past few years, Prince Harry and Meghan Markle have become two of the most closely watched public figures in the world. Almost every interview, every public appearance, and every media report generates worldwide headlines. This latest People magazine feature is no exception. The article, which relied on unnamed sources close to the Sussexes, discussed Harry's relationship with his family, Meghan's perspective on recent events, and the challenges the couple continue to face. Within hours, the story was everywhere. Royal commentators debated it. Newspapers analyzed it. Social media exploded with opinions. The biggest question wasn't simply what the article said. It was why it appeared when it did. At roughly the same time, Prince Harry was attending engagements without Meghan by his side. That immediately fueled speculation. Was Meghan deliberately staying out of the spotlight? Were the Sussexes changing their public strategy? Or was this simply another routine decision that became a global talking point because of who they are? Supporters point to security concerns and scheduling as practical explanations. Critics argue the timing was carefully managed to influence public perception. At this stage, there is no public evidence proving either interpretation. And that's an important distinction. One of the most debated aspects of the article involved Harry's relationship with King Charles and Prince William. The report suggested that family tensions remain unresolved despite Harry's public statements expressing hope for reconciliation. That isn't entirely surprising. The publication of spare television interviews and years of public disagreements have created deep divisions that won't disappear overnight. Many royal observers believe rebuilding trust could take years. Others wonder whether it can happen at all. Meanwhile, Prince William has continued focusing on his royal responsibilities, largely avoiding public comment about the ongoing family dispute.
Then can we move on to this People magazine briefing, Jobbo? Just before I get your take on it, our Substack colleague, Tom Sykes of The Royalist, very, very good. He's making the point that this leak is Meghan trying to make herself the victim in all of this somehow. So, Jobbo, given that context from Tom Sykes, which I think was brilliantly explained, actually, how on earth can Meghan Markle then leak to People magazine, contravening the agreement that they had made with Buckingham Palace, that she is somehow the victim in all of this?
She always plays the victim, and they were always going to leak it. It was a matter of time. Even I thought it was quite quick how they've leaked.
They can't help themselves.
Detail. There'll be more detail that comes out about this, and it will all be positive about the Sussexes. I mean, the reality is that's what they're going to do. They're going to leak, and it's inevitable. I mean, it is inevitable. But with the whole business of this circus that came into town, effectively they were holding a gun to the king's head. There's nothing these children have done wrong, Archie and Lilibet, and I'm sure, like you, like me, feel they're totally innocent. But they are being used in a way that is pretty despicable, because what's the king supposed to be? You know, what's the king supposed to do? He's told his grandchildren are coming to England, and that his son and daughter-in-law would like him to meet them and to have some sort of interaction with them for the first time in 4 years, for the first time in their memory, really. Of course he's going to say yes. He's a kind man, really, the king. He's not going to not want to see his grandchildren.
Okay, is he a weak man, though, Jobbo, too?
Yeah, but, it's difficult, isn't it? You're living with cancer. You've got a certain amount of finite time in your life. I mean, he's seeing all sorts of people behind the scenes. Michael Fawcett, who was got rid of as well. A lot of people being seen in this period, because of course a man without living with that, he doesn't know how long he's got, and so he's not going to turn that down. And that may be seen as weakness, but it certainly wouldn't have happened on the Queen's watch, the late Queen's watch. And I don't think it would happen if it was Prince William, no matter what the situation was going on. But this is a father and a father-grandfather situation. I slightly get that, but it was quite clear that they were going to be played here. And I'm just glad that they didn't get to stay at Buckingham Palace, headquarters of the monarchy, which I think would have been the worst op together. And I think that Sir Clive Alderson got away with one there by withdrawing that offer just in the nick of time. And if Harry accepted straight away, my goodness, would that have been a terrible, terrible look for the monarchy?
Totally, it would have been. That was a fast save. Personally, Jobbo, people might think it's harsh. I don't think they should have been offered accommodation within any royal residence. I don't think they deserve it. I think
that was really probably just down to the children's situation and the security around the children's situation who was going on about that. But didn't she fly in from Portugal?
Yeah, and it's still not good enough anyway.
And by the way, security, it's nonsense. And is Birmingham less safe than London? And the whole thing about the security, I mean, a number of people on intelligence services say there are no threats.
And of course, really Colombia and Nigeria are much more dangerous. Can I just say? Well, and Ukraine.
Ukraine, yeah. Come on, I think we've had enough of this sort of boy child, this man child. That his performance on that podcast talking about his grooming was really, you might forgive him.
Or people shitting themselves on a highway. It's the worst thing I've ever seen, Jobbo. I'm not exaggerating.
41, man, if you want to be taken seriously, start being a bit serious. He was supposed to be on that, whoever allowed him to go on there. I mean, I'm sure it's something he wants to do, but this laddish banter nonsense and talking about your grooming and whether you're ginger or not, frankly, who cares if you're ginger or not? Nobody, Harry, nobody.
Yeah, I found the whole thing repulsive, actually. Now, Prince William did not respond to requests for comment. That means they just ignored this, right? Nothing. They didn't pick up the phone to the New York Times. They didn't reply to the email. Prince Harry declined to comment. My reading of that is that was declining to comment on the record, but briefing took place to the New York Times off the record, because you've got to admit, it feels highly coincidental that People magazine and the New York Times would both come out with these articles on the same day, both being pro Prince Harry and Meghan publications.
Well, the New York Times is a serious newspaper, whatever your political stance on it. So they've had to go through certain procedures that, of course, they would have checked, and they have been briefed. There's no doubt about that. I mean, they have been briefed from clearly one side as well. There's no doubt about that. But I mean, I think they're pushing it to say that this relationship with his father is being repaired. I think that, yes, he's had a meeting. I think that there's been 2 meetings, solo meetings, isn't there? And there's been one where they got them together. So the optics were there. They basically forced the king's arm. I think it's very significant by saying that they were bringing the kids. Then they did all this sort of nonsense that in between, they're not coming, they are coming. And the king obviously quite rightly got frustrated with that. And then they basically agreed to the king's rules. It's no doubt whatsoever the fact that Camilla, the queen, was there as Charles's Rottweiler, as his guardian, to make sure that he didn't make any promises or do things that I'm sure the conversation stuck to the children. because it's so easy when families have had a rift, if children get involved, they can sit and talk about the children until the cows come home, but you don't get into discussing things that have caused that rift. And I'm sure that never happened. So we're talking about, in the space of 4 or 5 years, 2 visits and 1 with the children. Camilla was really fiercely attacked by Harry in Spare. You know, she really came under a lot of criticism, and the fact that she had the balls to be there and face it off, I think, would have slightly surprised Harry. I suspected Harry thought he would probably be getting a visit with just his father, which would have been a different situation. But the fact that she stood alongside the king was important, because this is, in my view, and I'm being rather cynical here, this is all about money in the end. I mean, yes, he wants his children to meet the grandfather, but ultimately the king is a man living with cancer. He has a finite time on this earth, and when King William is King William, there'll be no money coming Harry's way. The only money he's going to get is from a payoff from his father when his father passes, and I'm sure that he's aware of that. I'm sure that he's aware that he wants to make sure his children are looked after as well. And I'm damn sure that Meghan Markle is of that belief as well. So I believe, sadly, that this is a lot to do with money. Yes, it's to do with building bridges, but I do believe ultimately, with time ticking, Harry knows he's got 1 payday left out of the royal family, and that's when his father passes.
God, that's just so horrific, but I completely agree with you, because I think, Jobbo, the financial situation is so underestimated at the moment. People don't realize what trouble they're in. And it's
Big
not
trouble.
about
I mean,
the
that
fact.
court case, and look at the court case, Dan. I mean, you know, the Mao are going to go back to court to get some of that 30 million, maybe more, back. I mean, you know, who's going to pay that? Elton John has just basically allegedly said, well, I'm not getting involved in paying for Harry's bills. So this is Harry really in a big problem financially, I think.
100%. And you've got the 3 million a year in security costs as well. And see, that to me is why I think he's so obsessed about security, Jobbo, as well. It's not about his safety in the UK. I know this because I know people, Jobbo, who have this RAVIC protection. And you know, once you get it, you have to be protected wherever in the world you are. So what it means is that the UK taxpayer would be effectively funding Harry's security while in California, but also, Job, if he decided to go to Ukraine again, if he goes to Nigeria, if he goes to Colombia. So all of a sudden what would happen is Harry would be able to wipe that $3 million security bill altogether. His private security would go, and the UK taxpayer would be paying his security wherever in the world he is. Because, can I just say, I know people claim that to the contrary, but there is no arrangement. No one has an arrangement. No person protected by RAVIC has an arrangement where they only receive security when they're in the UK. So former prime ministers, for example, let's think about Tony Blair. He spends so much time all across the world, Jobbo, wherever he is, be it the Middle East or Davos, wherever he is, the British taxpayers are funding his security.
Well, I mean, we're talking that Harry's 41, his children are very young. You know, we're talking a lot of money over the next 35, 40 years, aren't we? But why should the taxpayer fund? His father warned him, okay? I remember writing it at the time. Before you broke that story of the split, you know, there was discussions going on. And then the reality is, you know, the one thing that the king, who was then Prince of Wales, told his son was, have you thought about it? Have you given it all the thought? Because security, you know, is a big issue. You will not get it, definitely, if you're out of the royal family. You then broke the story in The Sun, and then Harry just assumed he was going to get it. He assumed he was going to continue because he'd served in in Argentina. Sorry, when he served
Afghanistan,
in the army in Afghanistan, because he'd been and served with distinction, whatever way you look at it. You know, he assumed that because he had been a threat then, and all that went on, that he would get the security, and he just didn't. And that was a big, big error where he was doing this. And I think that if he had told Meghan Markle, Duchess of Sussex, that clearly at the time, I actually think they would have had to reconsider their whole strategy. But he ignored the king. He ignored the Prince of Wales then, and he said, you know, I'm going to carry on doing what I'm doing. And we had all that nonsense, the freedom flight, all the money coming in from Netflix and Spotify, and all these deals they were getting. They thought the money would be never ending. But the tap has been turned off
I know,
because
but you were so
they're
right,
a big
Chobbo.
turn off.
King Charles has done much the same. That silence has become a story in itself. Some interpret it as restraint. Others see it as distance. Either way, it has allowed outside voices to dominate the conversation. Another reason this story attracted attention is People magazine's long-standing reputation for publishing celebrity exclusives. When unnamed sources speak in such articles, readers naturally ask where the information came from. But unless someone is identified or the claims are independently confirmed, it's impossible to know who provided the details. That's why many headlines describing the article as a leak go beyond what has been publicly established. The discussion surrounding the article also highlights a broader issue. In today's media landscape, perception often moves faster than facts. One headline becomes another. Social media amplifies the strongest opinions. Before long, speculation is repeated so often that many people assume it's confirmed. That's why it's worth separating verified reporting from interpretation. What is confirmed is that Harry and Meghan remain among the world's most talked about public figures. What remains uncertain is how much progress, if any, has been made toward repairing family relationships behind closed doors. Looking ahead, the Sussexes continue pursuing charitable initiatives and business projects while the royal family focuses on its constitutional role. Whether those paths eventually converge again remains one of the biggest unanswered questions in modern royal history. Until then, every interview, every appearance, and every magazine feature will continue attracting enormous attention. Because when it comes to the royal family, the story is rarely just about one headline. It's about what people believe that headline means. What do you think? Was the People magazine story simply another celebrity exclusive? Or do you think it will influence public opinion about the Sussexes and the royal family? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this analysis, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more royal news and updates. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.